Welcome back. Hey, what we are doing today is we are going to be dealing with the cooling system in Tricky Ricky's car. So it's going to be a little bit different because we're at the back of the car. Doesn't that look like a radiator to you? Join us as we get this sorted out. All right, what we have here is I took and made some different adapters up for the where the water pump goes on this LS. Normally they sell aftermarket ones to replumb where the water pump goes and so on, but I didn't like it for a couple reasons. Is we wanted some different ports on here for the steam ports and sensor as well. I do believe that these should have some sort of flex joint in between. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll not have to worry about that. Anyway, just got some cheap generic bolt on. Well, they bolt onto the block. These were threaded. I welded the fittings into them. And then we made this cooling system and it's going to the back of the car. So as of right now, we are to there. But what I did as well under here is I took and just tacked in a mount for the rad. And so we have the water pump. I welded a neck right onto the water pump here where the water pump screws onto it. And we're gonna have to change this fitting. But we took the rad right out of the front of this car that's been used for however many years, and yeah, whatever, we can replace it. But I think we're going to be good enough with the cooling system in this. We have a lot of line coming back here and whatever. So yeah, there's some damage to the rad, but it isn't going to matter. I think we're probably actually going to be running really cold with this. One reason that I think we're going to be running cold is we are running a lot of methanol in this thing. So it's going to have different fuel combinations, ethanol and methanol. But what we're getting after in this video is we have to mount his fans to this. And so I'll be pulling the rad out and welding the tabs on that need to get welded on permanently. But the main deal is we are getting the fans mounted to it. So yes, and it is at the back of the car. So just for example's sake here, we have the transmission cooler back here as well, and it's going to be blowing out underneath the car. I have the fan shroud already laid out on the computer, and we're in the cutting room. Usually I bail for this, but I have good ventilation. I just don't like standing in here in case I'm breathing it in, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to sit in here. I got hearing protection stuff on, and we'll just video this for you. This is a tool that is pretty much a must for a fab shop, to have a CNC plasma table if you're doing any sort of fab work. Pretty much needed. The plan is to use the original fans. I didn't worry about taking and marking the bolt holes because it's just as easy for me to take and drill these holes. I'm putting nutserts in it, and we'll have nice little bolts going into this thing. But what I got to do first, I'm gonna probably, I don't even know if I need it, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run some beads in this just to give it some strength. So I'm not sure if anyone has used these punches, but you get a set of these punches. They're really cheap. They're just center punches, and they come in whatever hole diameter so that you can get your hole centers lined up really good. And so that's how I'm marking these holes. I have them all marked with a felt in there just to be roughed out, but this fits into that hole and I can center punch them, and that way I am good with getting all my hole centers to be perfect. Yeah, there won't be a whole bunch of slop in these holes after I get the nutserts in and everything, so I want everything to line up nice. So I just roughed out some lines on this. This is actually 14 gauge aluminum, which is 64 thou, which is fairly heavy for a fan shroud. But the reason I'm doing that is because of where this rad is located. It's so far out behind the wheels that I just decided, you know what? It's probably worth it. I'm going to step in on this. It's probably worth it to give it a little bit extra strength. And that's what these lines are doing as well, is we are going to be putting some lines into this with the bead roller, which is going to make it a lot stiffer. I'm not going to go crazy on these lines. And I mean, I just roughed this in here. It's not like it needs to be deadly perfect. Like zero are going to see this, but we still want to make things as nice as we can. And you see, I took some, I don't know, you probably can see that I took and erased some lines. So I just use a Sharpie. And how I erase the lines on this is I take and use brake clean to pull the lines off. So after this is all done, because I have to anneal it, and I'll show you what I mean with that. But after this is all done, this is getting all going to be, I'm going to brush it again so that all of the junk that's on here disappears. So when it gets mounted in here, it's going to look like a factory bought part. That's what we're looking for. Something that looks like it was meant to be on the car. We always want pretty. So once she's cleaned up, she's gonna look pretty. I am going to anneal this aluminum. All I want to do is get soot where I need it annealed. So this is just straight acetylene. So you just have an acetylene flame that is a low, like just a little bit of acetylene coming out of it. And the whole point of that is the soot, when I heat this up, and you got to be careful with aluminum, it has a very high thermal conductivity. What that means is if I heat this corner here, I have to heat the whole thing before this gets hot enough to say melt or weld or whatever we're going to do. So putting the soot on is the indicator. When I burn that off, this aluminum will be annealed. So what that means is it's going to be softer to bend. So what happens when you bend aluminum is if you bend the aluminum, it tends to crack. And so if I bend this side and I go 90 degrees, I'm not real worried with it because the grain, all metal has grain in it, but the grain in this, not all metal, but all sheet steel or sheet aluminum, whatever has a grain in it, it's going this way. So if I bend against the grain, no problem. Even if I bend a 90 degree with the grain, not a real big problem. But on the top edge here, I'm actually double bending it. If I were to do that, that would just break off. So the purpose of annealing it is so that I can double bend it. If I'm going to make aluminum work hardened, so if I'm going to make something like a I don't know, we'll say we're going to take an English wheel this, or we're going to hammer it or whatever. That's something else as well that I would want to soften and anneal it. So all we're doing is softening it. And to get this softened, you don't want to stay in one spot or you're going to end up melting and making your aluminum soft. And so I got a real dirty tip. Before this, I'm gonna have to clean this tip. I just threw a different torch on here real quick. So all I wanna do is then I wanna move pretty quickly on it because this is gonna warp like crazy. It's aluminum. All I wanna do is I wanna burn that soot off. And then, after that soot's all off, well, not even after it's all off, until the majority of it is off, where my bend lines are, then I'm gonna have to let it cool down. It'll sit back down. The thermal expansion rate, as you can see, of aluminum is pretty huge. Even when you're plasma cutting aluminum, it's fascinating to see how much it moves. And I'm not really worried about the warping of this thing because we're going to be bending it and that's going to straighten it all out. So that's all I care about, is getting these bend lines annealed. So we're good for annealing. We'll let that cool down and come back later when she's cleaned up. This is almost cold to the... No, it's still pretty warm. We're gonna cool it down anyway. Not boiling the brake clean off it, but got a little too hot in there, I think. Not real worried about it. Again, this is getting all brushed. Who says aluminum doesn't change color, hey? There we go. It's kind of sitting flat. Still warm, but yeah. It's amazing how much that moves. So I'm gonna mark it all out and we'll get it bent up. So the reason a box and pan brake is called a box and pan brake is these fingers move so we can adjust how this bends. This one's just a fairly straightforward normal bend, but we're gonna make some adjustments as we build this piece. So for now, she's just getting some bends. So this is the double bend, which has to hook over itself because it's getting hooked on the top of the rod. So now I'll just make an adjustment, pull it out of here. I definitely have a confession to make here. So glad I annealed this. So glad. And the reason why is my first bend was the opposite way here. So I had to bend this back and it hasn't broke. So what I have to do now is take and bend this up, out and over, because that gets hooked over the top of the rod. A lot of that is going to be hammer work anyway. So I had to straighten this out with a hammer. I'm sure glad that the top of that is going to be impossible to be seen unless it's out on the bench. And this is my buddy's car. Otherwise, well, you know what? Knowing me, I'll probably redo it anyway. But for now, so I took off the big bending bar so I can get closer, but this is heavy material. So we'll see how good this bends. It's not real nice without that piece on. I should have had it moved over in the brake a little bit. It did work. It did work. But I have to go more. Okay, so clamp something to it and we'll bend it away with a hammer on the bench. without clamping something to it. We'll see how tight this bend gets. Ooh, I really like that. That's going to be beautiful. It's going to be great. Everything's vibrating off the bottom of the bench. I'm going to even this all out and we'll be good to go. So after the anger management discussion that I had with myself, I came to the conclusion that people need to see. So I ended up messing this one up here and bending it backwards. And so I had to unfold it, fold it back over, and do that double reverse on it, which now is fitting beautifully. It's not on all the way. Anyway, it fits beautifully. This rad's bent up really bad here. I didn't want to mess with it too much, so I trimmed this back. I had to trim these corners back to fit in, as well as on this side I had to do the same. Now, the thing that I found out is the bottom of this rad is bowed, so I had to take this to the bench and work it so, I don't know if you can see, it's actually got a bow in it as well. Would have been easier to start with a new rad, and after I made my mess up, to start with a new piece of aluminum. Oh well, I will be able to make this pretty. I'll probably DA it before I put the nutserts in, and then I'll put the nutserts in and give it a polish. So that is where I'm at. So hitting it with that random orbital with an 80 grit on, all I've done is taken out the big marks from the brake and from the anger management that I should have taken before I started the project. No, not really. I don't really get too excited about things. Things happen. You just got to deal with it. So I personally think this is going to look great. And I'll get these nutserts in and we'll carry on. I just want to pick a drill bit that this is going to fit in without me having to file the holes or do anything. And we'll do one quick test one to make sure I picked the right one. I'm just using 1024 riv nuts. And the dullest bit alive. Maybe it's not alive, it's dead. So it's aluminum real soft. I'm just going to run a pilot hole in. And we will get some more bits. Everything on Rick's car is brushed, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to brush it up here. Now, the whole thing is you want to work on the edges, get them all done, and then move into the middle. Getting right into the corner is a little tricky. Got to do it by hand. It's not a big deal. I just have red Scotch-Brite here. And when you're doing something like this, the red Scotch-Brite is it's a little on the fine side. So actually, if you want to go heavier, Scotch-Brite's more to prep, I guess, for polish. So this is 80 grit, an old stick-it that's off the random orbital. All we're trying to do is make lines in there that your eyes aren't going to see with brush stuff. And all we're worried about is that inside corner that the polisher that we're using to brush with can't get to. I'm going to make sure that end is good because it tears that up. The polisher up is that end, it would just tears it up. So if you can get that too, that's good. Try and keep your lines as straight as you can. It's going to take a lot of blemishes out. And you can pick the grit of brush you want. This I'm going a little aggressive. This is a 180 disc or drum in here. When you go aggressive, it kind of hides more blemishes. And this is definitely race car. It's gonna get thrashed on in the pits, probably get scratched up. We're just gonna try and make it look as nice and purchased as we can. Lots of stuff in the pits is just gorgeous when they start, and then they end up being pretty thrashed up within the next or within a season or even less. So my goal is to have this thing looking pretty sweet. So it looks pretty good for old race car parts that we're reusing. That's kind of the whole point of this, is instead of buying everything new, we're reusing everything that we can. So I'll get it mounted on the rad. Fans are on, shroud's on. Should have been easier than what it was. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna weld out the rest of the brackets on the rad. I'm gonna figure out where the outlet needs to go for the water. And actually it's the inlet for the water. And get that welded in, get it back in the car, and then we'll carry on making some more cooler lines. Get that buttoned up. To wrap it up, we have the fittings going into the block. We have our two lines coming all the way back, which acts like another radiator with all that mile of line. Had a little leak when we first started it. And we go into the radiator, but that's not really what that's about. The radiator's at the back. The actual expansion tank is out here, and you actually fill the radiator through the fuel door. And we have the fans mounted in the back, which is super cool. And it actually is super cool. Those fans do a great job. Thanks for checking out the fan shroud video and the bonus footage of how the cooling system works in this car. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe.